everyone. Welcome. So nice to see people here. Um, I'm back. Hello. So yeah, as you'd probably tell, we're going to be talking about Autism Speaks today. Yay. But first, I'd like to say that I had a lot of people, you know, um, ask how I was doing. I'm doing fine. I'm doing much better after 2.5 week break. Honestly, I kind of needed it. Mel, no, I don't do a video. Um, oh, hi, Joshua. Yeah, the Transit Prodigy, yes. Um, but yeah, I don't have a video because to go on YouTube while in China, I need to use a VPN, and the VPN slows my internet down to the point where it can't handle a video, sadly. But anyways, but yeah, I'm doing fine. I took the time to kind of learn how to do better self-care, essentially. Because I wasn't doing that. Yes, Mel. The first two live streams I did, I tried with video, and yeah, that's where I learned it didn't. Yeah, the LSD vision, Welt Fenos. Yes, the LSD vision. It caused the video to go very weird. But yeah. Anyways, yes, I took time figure out self-care for myself. I'm on new meds. They're working. I haven't had a panic attack in a week. Awesome. Yay. Hopefully it keeps happening, because that's one of the big things that caused me to realize I needed to take a break, was I was having panic attacks. But anyways, so on to today's discussion about Autism Speaks. Now, it is mostly in North America. So other people like in Europe, Australia, Asia, they don't know as much about Autism Speaks. But in North America, we know a lot about it. Um, but yeah, so basically just sort of as an opener sort of thing, Autism Speaks was started in 2005 by Bob and Suzanne Wright, who they started because they have an autistic grandson. And they were like, oh no, we have to like help him and do something. And they had a lot of money, and so they started Autism Speaks. If you've seen my comics with the sort of like Autism Speaks representative character, her look is actually based off of Suzanne Wright, who's the co-founder. So I actually like based her look off of her. So it's I remember someone commenting on my latest post about the International Day of Kindness. They're like, man, I love how the Autism Speaks person has like a Karen haircut. And I'm just like, actually, it's based off a real person. She just so happened to have a Karen haircut. But yeah, so they originally, they were the company foundation, whatever, that did get people talking more about autism. But the problem is that, yes, Justin, I think you are the youngest one here. But that's okay. I'm so glad you're here anyways. But, essentially, like, they portray, like, instead of, I guess back in 2005, a whole lot wasn't known about autism, but the problem is that they did and still do portray autism horribly. Like, horribly. Um, if you've ever seen their video, they have a couple of videos. There's one called I Am Autism, where they make so many horrible claims. And then Autism Every Day, where it's like talking to people, parents and stuff like that. And like, there's one clip where a mother was talking about how her child's autism, like at one time, made her think about driving off a bridge. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and they put that in their video. Like, that clip in their video is just like, what the heck? And it's just sort of like, they put autism in the worst possible light. They show it as something to be feared, that it's a horrible disease that will ruin the lives of their family, that they claim it'll destroy marriages, that it'll bankrupt you, that living life with an autistic child is nothing but despair. They vilify autism and they dehumanize autistic people to fearmonger. And honestly, like, what better way to get people's attention and to get them to give you their money than to scare them? You know, it's like I can only imagine, I can only imagine that, you know, the fear mongering is just to be like, hey, this is a really scary thing. Don't you want, you know, to give us your money? But, Shimmer, when I first found out about autism and that I might be autistic, I went, oop, I'm going to ruin my parents' marriage. Yeah, apparently, I was 11 years early. I was diagnosed at 17, but apparently my autism destroyed my parents' marriage when I was 6. I was on the ball. Actually, no. Oh yeah. Yeah, Mel. Adam Conover. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if Conover's how you pronounce his last name, but Conover. Yeah, on Twitch did a stream about Autism Speaks. I didn't actually watch it. I saw about it, but I didn't watch it. I don't know what was on it, so I may be saying the same things he did, but it needs to be said. But yeah, is essentially Autism Speaks. They show basically the worst. Oh, Adam Ruins Everything. Yeah, I know who that is. Okay, now I know who Adam is. I didn't know his last name. My partner just patted me on the shoulder. It's like, I don't know people's last name. But yeah, it's basically Autism Speaks. They show autism in, like, the worst of it. They don't show any positives. They don't say, like, the good parts of being autistic. They don't show autistic people as people. But yeah, Justin, I must suck at being autistic because my parents are still together. That's funny. But yeah, it's like they say things like autism takes away the hopes and dreams of a child, you know, and they turn autism into a boogeyman. And like one of the things, yeah, it's just they basically encourage parents to blame their autistic child for any family problems. If parents are angry at themselves and yelling at each other, oh, it's not because something happened, it's because the autism, and it's just like, what? No. Stop that. Um, one big issue that is actually has huge ramifications even to this day. Just a second, I'm going to take a sip of tea. Especially right now, is Autism Speaks help popularize the vaccines cause autism thing, which of course helped bolster the anti-vax movement, which right now is like, I swear, the core of the anti-mask movement. So that is some huge harm that they've done, not just to autistic people, but, to the world at large, is they helped, you know, um, popularize the whole, um, anti-vax movement. They bolstered it. They, validated it. That's the word. They validated the, anti-vax movement with the, thing, saying that vaccines cause autism. Technically, Autism Speaks has backpedaled on that, but it's like the damage has been done, but not only that, but Autism Speaks founder, back in 2016, this is only 4 years ago, on the Today Show, was saying that it's like, when it comes to vaccine and autism, well, there's no proof it doesn't cause autism. Like, he was still, like, pushing that. He was still the founder. Like, he's not the CEO anymore. But it's like he's still pushing this narrative back in 2016. And people, like, when he talks, people are gonna listen. Um, but, um, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like 8:14 in the morning here, so my brain isn't fully in my head yet. Um, but yeah, so Autism Speaks is one thing that, it's like, you'd think that, with a name like Autism Speaks, they would want to help. Um, they would want to help autistic people. Like, it makes sense. But no, they don't help autistic people. I believe the latest numbers are that only 1.6% of their gigantic budget goes to actually helping autistic people. And it's only for that money only goes to families with young autistic kids. Older autistic kids, like teens or adults, they see no help, no financial support, or anything from Autism Speaks. It's only families with young autistic kids. Again, 1.6% of their budget. Their giant budget. And it's just like, they do so much fundraising and so much marketing. You'd think that they would do more, but they don't. And of course, they don't listen to us at all. Um, they had an autistic board member at one point. I think he left in 2016 or 15. I can't remember. But he was an autistic advocate, and he joined Autism Speaks and was on the board. And he actually left because they weren't listening to him. They do now have 2 more members, autistic people on the board. They joined in 2018. So we'll see how long they last. They haven't, like, the only change I've seen Autism Speaks make since 2018 is that they changed their logo. Yay! Such change! So we'll see what happens. But yeah, is they push the, use the phrase person with autism, not autistic person, which shows that they don't listen to the autistic community at all. Now, there are people who do prefer person with autism. However, Autism Speaks and other, companies and foundations push that using the word autistic is not politically correct, which it's like, that's not your place to say. It is politically correct. Most people like being called autistic people. Most autistic people like being called autistic people. Now, here's a big thing. Yes, Justin, they still have that annoying puzzle piece. It's just that it's not fully blue. It now has kind of pinks and purples in it as well. It was blue because there was this belief that autism was mostly a boy thing. And that's why they had the lighted up blue thing. Because it's like, oh, autism equals boy. But, of course, as we learn more about autism, we realize, oh, that's all false. Autism affects people of all genders. I'm non-binary and I'm autistic. Yeah, Justin. Yeah, it's like having an LGBT plus organization and only a few members being LGBT plus. Exactly! Yes, Connor, that's why it's blue. Shimmer, the puzzle piece is by now. But yeah, is, another, harmful thing is, they support, applied behavioral analysis, is that what it is? ABA, which is, essentially gay conversion therapy for autistics. Fenos, isn't the statistic every 4 boys for 1 girl? I thought it was closer to every 5 boys for 1 girl, but you may be more correct because things may be changing. Because I know more girls are getting diagnosed, so you may have the more correct. Well, yeah, it's just that it's the diagnosis. Boys get diagnosed more than girls.
Sorry, I just want to pop in on this. The big thing that I've noticed with regards to this is something I've noticed from teaching is they still typically focus on the traits that were discovered to be associated with cases where male autism is apparent. The traits differ noticeably between the genders for what is more common. And since less females will show those particular traits that the males do, not in the same way, they weren't getting diagnosed at the same rate. But as they've started to re-examine what they previously thought and look at the qualifiers that are more apparent for those who are female who are autistic, the numbers have started to go up again in that direction. So it's not as big a divide as they once thought. I don't remember what it is in terms of the actual split, or if it's, I think it is about 50-50, but that's where it's starting to swing back into a more even playing ground as they recognize the differences in the diagnosis across the two. But that's sadly a very recent thing.
But yeah, Mel. Yes, you were right, Mel. Yep, ABA equals autistic conversion therapy, and Lovas helped found both. Yes, that is correct. Basically, the guy who created ABA, I don't remember his full name. ABA founder. Let me just Google quickly. Ole Ivan Lovas. He started ABA, and it was how he used ABA, like his findings, that were the core basis of gay conversion therapy, and he actually had a hand in with gay conversion therapy. So this is something Autism Speaks promotes. But for those who don't know, ABA is basically some of these things not like all ABA does, but I would say basically all ABA is still abusive. It's just that some ABA doesn't do the more extreme stuff, but it still does abusive things. So there's things like they perform restraint to stop stimming, which is, of course, our way of self-regulation of our emotions. And they're like, no, you're not allowed to self-regulate your emotions, apparently. It's one thing that, just kind of shocked me. I remember researching ABA, and just, my jaw dropped. It is sort of like they say, hey, for kids, deny them certain things unless they specifically ask for it, including food. They're saying, do not give your child food unless they specifically request it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to starve your kid to deny them toys and affection. And it's just for... But ABA also, for the more extreme side of things. Mel, autistic writer Alex Kronstein has a great series of articles for the Nova Scotia Advocate on Lovas, if people want more info. Okay, well then, you have that in. You can check out the Nova Scotia Advocate writer Alex Kronstein if you want more info, because probably have a lot more info than I can give you. But yeah, but the more extreme side of ABA is using electroshock therapy. And yes, well, Fenos, electroshock therapy, you got to it before I did. This is one of the rarer things that are used, but it's the fact that it's still used. And it's unbelievable that it's just sort of like that you would use electroshock therapy. Justin, yes. Ingesting bleach, like giving your child bleach, that is not part of ABA. That is part of the miracle mineral cure thing. Still awful, still horrible. Not promoted by either Autism Speaks or ABA, thankfully. That's like... They've reached that bar. It's a very low bar. Do you know how to explain electroshock therapy? I think you'd be better at describing it.
Okay. Electroshock therapy, it is essentially where they are the subject, I'm using that term here, I find it very distasteful here, is hooked up to electrodes which will induce an electric shock into a subject. And what is done for it is when the response they do not want to have exhibited, they don't want the response being shown, that is when they trigger an electric shock, so that it is the subject will associate pain and negative responses with certain actions that they take, things that they do to try to get them to force themselves away from it due to the response, the result of them doing that action. And it trains them to, oh God, I will feel pain. I will be shocked by this. And yeah, it, it really bothers me that this is a thing. So I'm having trouble talking about it, but that's essentially what they do is they induce the concept of association with pain to certain actions that you do to force you to not do them out of raw fear of that pained response.
Thank you. Yes. um, there's actually there's a YouTuber called Illuminati, who did a few videos on Autism Speaks, and our second video on Autism Speaks talks specifically about electroshock therapy. But yeah, I like her watching her videos. She's pretty cool. Yes, Justin. So inducing trauma so your child won't stim a little bit. Yes. But yeah, is with ABA, you've got, it's supposed to be done for 40 hours a week, which is basically like a full-time job. Yes, Dominic, that Illuminati. Yes, well, Fenos. So look in the chat if you want to know how to spell her YouTube name. She's awesome. She's done 3 videos on Autism Speaks. She just released a video about autism and women. I have not seen it yet. I have to watch it. But yeah, one of the most horrible things about ABA, I find, that's done basically with all ABA, and this is why it can be, like, it is so bad, is that it teaches children to never question adults, and it makes them perfect prey for predators. Yeah, and so this is why I'm confident in saying that all ABA is abusive, because it teaches this. It teaches children to never go against an adult's word. And of course, what if that adult has malicious intent? The child doesn't know. They'll still listen to them. You know, and it's just sort of, it's so dangerous. Another thing with Autism Speaks, just one thing that they're doing, one of the things that they're researching, for anyone who's wondering what kind of stuff they research, is one thing that they are researching is a prenatal test for autism. Basically, to try and figure out, Connor, aren't some autistic children very vulnerable to predators to begin with? Yes. Not just autistic children being vulnerable to predators, but I can say from personal experience, we are also vulnerable to abusers and manipulators. As someone who was friends with one for 20 years, yeah, we are vulnerable to that kind of stuff. Because we're very much, we take people's word. Like, we're very trusting, because it's just sort of like, autistic people, we're less prone to lying, to deception, so we don't expect it of other people. Well, Fenos, that sounds like fertile ground for CPTSD. Funny you should say that. Research has found 40 to 50% of people who are subjected to ABA end up with PTSD. Shimmer, I can second being friends with abusers. I am so sorry. It's not fun. But the prenatal test for autism, that is something they're researching to find out if when someone is pregnant, if the child they're pregnant with will have autism. And this can be dangerous because Estelle, I hope that's not like the prenatal test for Down syndrome. It is. My mother was offered that because she was pregnant at 47 and they told her there wasn't treatment, just decision to abort. Yes, that is exactly it. They're trying to do the same for autism. And again, it is so they can give it could be like one reason is so you can prepare, but another reason is so you have that decision to abort. And that kind of thing, kind of smells of eugenics to me. It's like, oh, your fetus has undesirable traits. Do you wish to abort? And just seems kind of sketch to me. Not gonna lie. Some of you may know, the, Sesame Street. Sesame Street, created a Muppet named Julia. She's an autistic Muppet. They, Sesame Street partnered with the Autism Self-Advocacy Network, which is ASAN or ASAN. They are run by autistics, for autistics. So they're a good foundation. ASAN is good. But yeah, Asan worked with Sesame Street for about 3 years to develop Julia. What happened was Sesame Street ended up partnering up with Autism Speaks with Julia to help promote something called the 100-Day Kit. And that's when Asan broke their partnership with Sesame Street. They tried, yes, Fenos, yes, please, let's not get into a debate about Hans Asperger. Let's stay on track. Yeah, it's basically Asan tried to talk to Sesame Street. About how Autism Speaks is not good. Like, you should not partner with Autism Speaks. Like, Julia was such a good character to teach kids about, autism and autistic kids, and she was a great tool for helping autistic kids understand themselves. So the fact that Sesame Street ended up partnering with Autism Speaks was very, heart-wrenching for me. Because when I first heard about Julia, I was so happy. And then it was just, it's soul-crushing. But the thing is that Autism Speaks uses Julia to promote this thing called the 100-Day Kit. And this thing is horrible. It's basically material. It's a free booklet or PDF that they will give you, like Autism Speaks will give you, for basically to help you deal with your child's autism, like the first 100 days. And oh boy, this thing is problematic. It encourages parents to blame family problems on autistic children. Like, this thing was last updated 2 years ago. So this is very recent. This is like they still hold these beliefs. And it's sort of like one thing that's written in it is when you find yourself arguing with your spouse, be careful not to get mad at each other when it really is the autism that has you upset and angry. As I said before, Autism Speaks promotes, don't, like, when you're angry at your spouse, it's not your spouse you're angry at, it's the autism. Blame your child. It's sort of, they view Autism Speaks as a terrible disease, like in the booklet, from which your child can get better. Technically, Autism Speaks has removed Cure Autism from their mission statement, but they still use language like get better. You know, they may not use the word cure anymore, but they still use the language to say that autism can be cured. They just use different language. It's the 100-Day Kit states that autism is on the rise and that it's more common in boys. Now, first of all, autism isn't on the rise. Diagnosis is. Correlation does not equal causation. It's basically, as we learn more about autism, more and more people are getting diagnosed. It's not that more people are magically becoming autistic. It's just that autistic people are less likely to go undiagnosed than before. Still a lot of undiagnosed people. But there's more and more people getting that diagnosis. And of course, more, the whole more common in boys thing is they're still pushing that, even though it's been disproven. Oh geez. Okay, so this is the thing that Estelle, that's like saying there have been more cancer cases in the 20th century than in ancient Greek. Yeah, no, it's not that there's more cancer, it's just we know what cancer is now. But yeah, this is one thing that really got me with this kit. Is that it encourages grieving over their autistic child, as if mourning the loss of the neurotypical child they expected. And they actually encourage them to go through the 5, like they say, they're going to go through the 5 stages of grief. Denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and acceptance. They're basically like saying, it's sort of like, basically like when your child gets diagnosed, mourn them as if they're dead or something. Shimmer, yes, technically there's more cancer, that's because there's more people. It's the percentage, not the actual amount. It's the same percentage. Connor, yes, they make autism out to be a tragedy, which, like, it isn't. Calm down. get help. um, but yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, when your child gets diagnosed with as autistic, mourn them as if they're dead. Don't celebrate your autistic child. Mourn the neurotypical child that doesn't actually exist. And it's like, no, how about you celebrate your child? How about you look at your autistic child as your child and celebrate them, love them? But no, they are like, oh, your child isn't quote unquote normal? Oh, be sad. It's like, no. My goodness. Um, it it discourages autism acceptance. It basically says like accept the child but not their autism. Um, and it's just sort of like love. It's like love the sinner but hate the sin kind of mentality. Love your child but hate the autism, and it's just sort of like, but that's autism is part of an autistic person, and it's just sort of it's part of who we are. If you don't accept the child's autism, you are not accepting a part of them. And again, I'm saying like the whole love the sinner but hate the sin when it comes to like gay people. That I heard that a lot growing up. When someone's gay, oh, love the sinner, hate the sin. And it's sort of like that is part of who they are. If you hate a part of who someone is, you hate a part of that person. It's not just, oh, I hate this one thing that isn't connected to them. You're hating a part of them. And it's like if you don't accept your child's autism, you're not accepting a part of your child. Justin, if I adopted a kid and they have autism, I would be super happy because I feel like I could raise them knowing them better. See, I read that comment because my dad's autistic and I'm autistic. We, like growing up, even before either of us were diagnosed, we had this connection. We know, like, we always have. It's kind of funny. When my dad would do something my sisters didn't like, they'd come to me and ask me to tell him to stop. Because apparently they didn't know how to talk to him, but I did. And it always confused me because with my dad, you just need to be straightforward. You just need to be like, here, stop doing this. And he'd be like, okay. And it's just, I don't plan on having any kids. But if I do, if they were autistic, I'd feel I'd have, a better connection with them. But anyways, in the book, in the 100-Day Kit, they describe the autism community as parents with autistic children. They don't describe the autistic community as autistic people, just parents with autistic kids. It's like they're literally cutting us out from the community. And it's just sort of, and I honestly feel like that, like you get a lot of parents who have autistic kids who will fight the autistic community, like actually autistic people, on certain things. And I feel like these parents were the ones who read this kind of stuff, where they see the autism community not as autistic people, but parents with autistic kids. Like, we don't deserve to belong in our own group. But it's just sort of like this kit it recommends, diets like gluten-free diets to help, quote unquote, improve autistic characteristics. I understand there are people who can't eat gluten. I have friends who have celiac disease. They can't eat gluten. I know people who are literally allergic to certain grains. They need a gluten-free diet. But if you don't have these issues, you don't need a gluten-free diet. But there's this belief that autism is somehow related to the gut. And while it is common for autistic people to have issues, and basically, it's like people believe because autistic people are more likely to have intestinal issues, autism is somewhat connected, to the gut. So they think, oh, cut back lactose, cut back gluten, or get rid of it entirely. Like, personally, my body can't really digest lactose anymore. So for me, a lactose-free diet would be good. But that is nothing that has nothing to do with autism. It's just GI, gastrointestinal. But yeah, it's just sort of like it promotes these quack diets. To help, get rid of certain autistic characteristics. And no. These quack diets are exactly, they're quack. But it's like this 100-day kit thing is absolutely, it's horrible. And this is when a child is diagnosed, Autism Speaks says, hey, take this free literature and read it to help you get through the first 100 days of your child's diagnosis. And it's just sort of like, it has such harmful advice that I honestly pity any child who has a parent who reads this stuff. And it's just sort of, it's okay if the chat goes off track, as long as it's not too off track and it doesn't cause a debate or anger or anything like that. If you want to stay on track, that's cool. But as long as there's not a negative going on. But yeah, it's just sort of, it's just, it does a lot of harm. And it's just the fact that, Autism Speaks is trying to change its image. But it's stuff like this that shows that it hasn't changed anything. Yes, they currently have 2 autistic people on their board. But who are these people? Are they autistic advocates? I know I've met autistic people who have internalized ableism. And do these people have it? Are they actually helping Autism Speaks change? Are they going to quit like the last guy because Autism Speaks just wouldn't listen to them? And it's just sort of, we'll see what happens, but with things like their budget, what they spend their money on. The latest budget that I could find was in 2018. I couldn't find the 2019 one. But with 2018, basically 48%, almost half of their budget went to quote unquote awareness and lobbying. Basically, Autism Speaks, it tries to lobby the American government to make it so their treatments, their propaganda, their marketing is the only one there. Like, Autism Speaks, their lobbying is the reason why in the United States, the only autistic, quote unquote, like, the only therapy that is covered under American insurance, like health insurance there, is ABA. So basically, in the United States, is if you don't have the money to pay for therapy for your kid, Justin, that's a monopoly at best. Yes, ABA has a monopoly in the US because it's the only thing insurance will cover, because that's what Autism Speaks wanted, and that's what they lobbied for. But the awareness that they promote, that they use their money on, is of course not good, because as I've been going over this entire time, their views on autism are pretty negative, and them spreading this awareness is just of autism bad is not a good thing. 27% of their money goes to research, and of course the things that they research are essentially how to stop autistic people from behaving autistic. Essentially, their research isn't to help autistic people, it's to help neurotypical people who don't want autistic people to act autistic. 20% goes into fundraising. So, yeah, 1/5 goes into of their budget goes into promoting to get more money. And 4% was literally labeled as miscellaneous. And then an itty-bitty little 1.6 was put under family services. And that's the money that goes to help autistic people. The families with young autistic people, young autistic children. There's their miscellaneous part of their budget is bigger than the part that actually goes to helping people. And this is the problem. When 1.6% of your budget is used to actually help the people you say, is you want to help, if 1.6% of your budget is all that goes to the people you say you're going to help, that's a problem. You have, it's unbelievable. Autism Speaks is not here to help autistic people. It never has been. It's always been to help people who don't want to deal with autism, who don't want to deal with autistic people. How do we, yes, that it's not a decimal error. It's not. 1.6% of their budget. I saw, if you look at, the pie chart, it's an itty bitty little sliver. And they're like, you look into their history, you look into what they've done, and it just shows that their goal has never been to help autistic people. You know, it's just what they want is for us to stop being so dang autistic because other people find it annoying. And it's just sort of it's infuriating. It's so infuriating because at least in North America, they are the largest, you know, autism related foundation. If you want help for your autistic child, Autism Speaks is usually the first one that comes to mind to people. And it's just, how can you say you want to help autistic people when you've proven time and time again that you don't? You know, well, Thanos, I know this stream was a little depressing after just taking a break and talking about it. A little respect. My little brother, I call him that because we're not, but we're not related, will have a testing in 3 days. Awesome! Yeah, I know this one's a bit depressing. Honestly, I did, with, oh my gosh. I decided to talk about Autism Speaks because November 13th, for some of you that was yesterday, for me it's 2 days ago, but it was International Kindness Day. Or International Day of Kindness, I don't know. But essentially, Autism Speaks was promoting it heavily, being like, yeah, let's promote International Day of Kindness by, having, show yourself being nice to autistic people. Videos or blogs or whatever. But it just seems, bye, Nick. It just seems so hypocritical to be like, hey, let's be, nice to autistic people. And then they're, they're not nice to us. It's sort of like they want everybody else to be kind to us, but they don't want to do it themselves. It do as I say, not as I do, essentially. Justin, the Gummy Bear album came out November 13th. I did not know that! I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked the stream. Honestly, this is probably, probably my most, structured one. I had like 2 pages of notes. Now I know if I want a full stream, 2 pages of notes. Anyways, so I'm going to end it there. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. So next one will be, next weekend. I'm glad to be streaming again. I liked the break, but I'm glad to be back. All of you have a wonderful day, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and I will see you later.